Hello everyone, welcome to my fatigue education project. My name is Xiaoxin Wang. So what is fatigue? Fatigue is a feeling of constant exhaustion, burnout, or lack of energy. It can be physical, mental, or a combination of both. Fatigue can affect anyone. Most adults experience it at some time in their life. The impact of fatigue on individuals. So fatigue symptoms can be physical, mental, and emotional and may include chronic tiredness, sleepiness, or lack of energy, headache, dizziness. So there are a dozen of causes for fatigue. The most common ones are insomnia, poor diet, stress, depression, and mental illness. Well, there's a lot of disease. There are a lot of diseases that also cause fatigue. We may be familiar with some of them, like heart failure, sleep apnea, diabetes, cancer, Addison disease, kidney disease, COPD, and chronic illness, and drug abuse. So in aviation, the most important one is pilot fatigue. So pilot fatigue is a concern because it can affect flight safety, efficiency, productivity, and personal health. Fatigue is recognized as one of the major factors that can impair human performance and has been cited as a cancer as a cause of accidents and incidents in the transportation industry. So why aviation has more fatigue? Well, there are multiple reasons. The first, pressurization. At cruising altitudes, airplane cabins are pressurized to just 15 to 25% of oxygen levels at sea level. This reduction leads to hypoxia or oxygen deprivation, which directly results in tiredness and lowered energy. Noise. Listener fatigue, also known as listening fatigue or ear fatigue, is a phenomenon that occurred after prolonged exposure to an auditory stimulus. Symptoms include tiredness, discomfort, pain, and loss of sensitivity. Listener fatigue is not a clinically recognized state, but is a term used by many professionals. While in an airplane, up in the air, when the engines are still turning, so there's a lot of vibration going on that causes a lot of noise. And also, when when the airplane is penetrating through the air at a high speed, the windshield is up front to the relative airflow, and that also causes a lot of noise. So through the course of the whole flight, pilots are constantly bearing with noise. And also confined space. Of course, the cockpit is a confined space. The discomfort, people might feel uneasy or uncomfortable in confined spaces. Anxiety and fear. Being in a confined space can trigger feelings of anxiety or fear in some individuals. Social impact. In narrow spaces, individuals may feel confined and find it difficult to engage in normal social interactions. And radiation. Well, there's study shows that some people going through radiation therapy report fatigue after treatment. The reason why is if your treatment destroys too many red blood cells, it can cause anemia, a symptom of which is fatigue. Okay, when we are high up in the air, and we, as flight crew passenger, will receive definitely more radiation that also leads to our fatigue. And toxic cabin air. Well, this one is not mentioned very often, but it's been there for several decades, I believe. So, aerotoxic syndromes relate to ill health effects associated with breathing contaminated air in an airliner cabin. Researchers have associated aerotoxic syndrome with exposure to substances such as engine oil and hydraulic fluid. And cultural factors. The high safety requirements of civil aviation lead to people constantly maintaining a high level of tension in their work. Well, this is very true. Definitely, when you're sitting in a cockpit and you are in the role of a pilot, you don't want anything to be wrong at this time, and you will expect certain degree of criticize or punishment once you conduct anything wrong in the procedure. So during the whole phase of flight, your nerves are at tension, and jet lag, of course. So jet lag is a type of fatigue caused by traveling across different time zones. The body needs to elsewhere from a few days to a few weeks to acclimatize to the new time zone. Approximately 1 day for each hour of time zone changes. Well, from time to time, pilots have to suffer from jet lag, especially corporate jet airline and cargo pilots. They tend to fly trans Atlantic flights or Pacific flights. That's like 10 hours of jet lag. 10-hour jet lag, as it says here, approximately 1 day for each hour of time zone changes. That will take 10 days, more than a week, to recover from jet lag. And how do we mitigate fatigue? Well, of course, plenty of sleep. But however, in today's workplace, it's getting less possible. And remember, it's okay to report fatigue. Otherwise, pilots will hide fatigue until they can't hide. This is another safety culture issue here that we need to figure out. And fatigue detection equipment, devices that detect and warn pilots of fatigue, not necessarily a wearable device, or it can be some device that installed somewhere in the cockpit. It has ability to detect the pilot's eye activity or facial expression, or through certain AI, procedure, we can figure out, the machine will figure out how much fatigue is there in the pilot. So any sound or only sound that goes off if the pilot is too tired. In a humanistic environment, at workplace of harmony, employees are subject to less fatigue. It's an employee's responsibility to achieve a ideal workplace environment. Well, if we work in some company with toxic culture, from time to time we feel uneasy. Of course, we have more fatigue there. And eat, last but not least, eat often to beat tiredness. There are several foods that can help beat feelings of fatigue during the day. Look for foods that are high in protein, good fats, and fibers. Food high in iron and other nutrients are also helpful. It's best way to avoid highly processed or sugary food when trying to boost energy levels. Well, there are sports soft drinks that can stimulate our nerves and give us better performance, but that is how we eat to beat fatigue or tiredness. We want to eat healthy food that is high in protein and fiber to beat fatigue. Also, good food gives us satisfaction and can ease our fatigue in a short amount of time. Okay, thank you. This is my fatigue project